Hello, hello. Be recording this, so if you miss any of it or you need to go back and review it, then you could do that after the fact, which is always sometimes a good thing because we will be covering quite a bit of information. One of the things, if you have a Facebook page already, and actually if you don't have a Facebook page and you need some help setting one up, I would be happy to walk you through setting it up after the webinar. Facebook is rolling out a lot of new changes right now, and one of the primary ones, which is a little disconcerting, is they're changing how the banner looks, in terms of actually not so much how the banner looks, but how the layout is. So most people right now will see a standard banner in Facebook, and this is what it looks like, where they'll have the text overlaying, they'll have a call to action, the like button, the message, and they'll have more options. What they're moving over to is this other option. So your little profile photo right now will actually move smaller, and it will move up into the banner itself. And some of these other things, they're actually kind of reverting to the way that it used to look, where they're taking these buttons and they're moving them down below this. So this is not consistent, and only about 2% or less so far of people have this option available. The interesting thing is some people may be seeing this and you don't see it. So it's being rolled out per account. It's not being rolled out per Facebook page, which for anybody trying to design Facebook headers either for the first time or to redo the current ones that they have now, it's best to try to see there are some dimensions online already for this new cover photo look, but it's best to try to design a new banner image for how it's going to look, because as I said, right now, like I see this, but other people are actually, Richard Peck, for example, whose page this is, he just sent me a snapshot of it. This is how it looks, and every Facebook page that he looks at, every business page has this new layout available to him. So it's per account and not by the page itself. So some of the new things that are happening in terms of things going on in this are they're moving a lot of these things and they're having a lot of new options available. I actually, as I was going through pages this morning, there was a couple of brand new things that weren't even there last night, which, you know, is a little disconcerting from trying to teach this stuff to people, because things can change, and they do every single day. So some of the other things that are changing right now is this response time. So if you have the messaging option enabled on your page, and you do have the option of turning this on and off, but this may not become permanent, being able to turn it off. What's going to happen is if someone sends you a message on your Facebook page, it's actually going to publicly tell people, even if they're not the admins of the page, how long it's taking you to respond to that. Now, I don't know, let's see, we have a couple of you on that do have Facebook pages. If you have not done this before, Facebook does have a very good option for helping you get ahead of your content, and it's the ability to pre-schedule posts. So if you have not used this before, and my apologies if you have, but a lot of people still don't know about this option. If you want to pre-schedule a post, I'm just going to type in something now, for example. And you can add a photo as well, or additional photos. They keep moving around where this is located, so I don't think they're ever going to take it away because it is a very good option. But if you're looking for this, it used to be located over there, the ability to pre-schedule. Now there's a little drop-down arrow right here, and you can hit schedule. And you can schedule as many posts far into the future as you'd like, which is very advantageous. So this little drop down right here, you're just going to pick what day as far ahead into the future as you can and pick in what time period, and you'll just hit schedule, for example. So I'll go in and schedule this one for next year and schedule. And the nice thing is, as they've tweaked this a little bit, when they originally rolled this option out, you could only delete or reschedule the post. It didn't give you the option of editing. But since then, if you'll see this, and you're going to be the only one, any admins are going to be the only one that sees that you have scheduled posts, for example. So no one else will see this. I know this seems to be a common question about people. Oh no, they've seen that I've got 100 posts pre-scheduled, for example. But you're the only one, anyone logged in as administrator will see that. So you'll click on See Posts. And my apologies, there seems to be a little bit of time lag this morning. And then you'll click on the option itself, and then it'll give you the option to edit. So say you made a typo, the link changed, you had an event going on in the business, and you needed to change something within it. So then you can just edit it. And then you can also reschedule it as well, which is very, very handy. Okay, and for those of you that just logged on, if you do have questions as we go through this, this is being recorded, so we've gone over a couple of things already, so you can go back and review those. But if you do have questions as I'm going along, please make sure that you ask them in the question bar to the right-hand side of the screen, and I can either get to them as you have them, or I can get to them at the end of the presentation. Okay. Now, some of the things that have changed recently, and I would recommend if you have a Facebook business page that you're using, go through here at least once a week and check out all of these options, because they're adding and deleting options literally every week. And unless you really stay on top of this, you're not going to see the new stuff that comes out. Facebook has made literally about 20 changes in the last couple of months, most of them extremely minor, but some of them have big impacts on business, and you might be looking for something that no longer exists, for example. Just as an example, Facebook used to have this great application built into this where you could actually email, they give you an email address, and you could email a post update directly to your Facebook page. Facebook, unfortunately, has since then taken that option away, and like Facebook usually does, is they don't tell anybody when they do that. They just kind of delete it, or when they add things, they don't generally tell people. Now, I'm just going to go through this kind of laundry list because some of these are fairly new and some of them have been around for a bit, but are important from a business standpoint in terms of especially reputation management. If for whatever reason your business has been in the news and people start posting negative comments on your Facebook page, the first inclination a lot of businesses do is to respond to the posts, which is kind of a whole other conversation in itself. But the first inclination is for them to delete the page, which can kind of backfire in the long run for the business, especially if they've put a lot of time and effort and sometimes money into building a Facebook following. It does have the ability in here to unpublish the page, which is extremely helpful in terms of basically the page just doesn't get deleted, it just goes away. And it can stay unpublished as long as you like, and it can stay unpublished for, a long time period, and then you can republish it. Now, page verification is something that's brand new. You may not see this. This is an option that has just been rolled out, and you may not see this on all pages. This is a fairly big new option for Facebook, and when Facebook rolls out bigger options, kind of like the banner profile pictures, sometimes it takes a couple of months for them to appear on your business page. But I would make sure that you check back, because this is going to be important, because from what I understand, there's going to be a check mark that appears next to a page is verified, and it's also going to show up and rank higher in Facebook search results. So this is going to be an important one to keep an eye on. And what they're going to ask is, when you see this, it's going to say verify this page. And then it will ask you for a business phone number, and then you'll get an automated phone call. You do have the ability to verify this page with documents instead. From past experience, when you have to verify something, like say you have a business page out there, for example, that someone else started and you don't have access to it, it's a laundry list of things that they ask you to submit, and it takes literally months to actually get control of the page and to get Facebook to respond. The business phone number, we've already done a couple of these. The check marks have not shown up yet, but it's actually said in the back end of it, it said that this page is verified. Visitor posts and feed, all of this is, all of these are things that you're going to want to, revisit. And to go back into the reputation management aspect for a moment, disabling posts by other people on the page. If you do have something happening in the news that's negative, this is an option. I do have to warn you though, if you disable posts by other people on your page, they're going to get annoyed, and then they're going to go post on other social media. You're better off unpublishing it completely. There's a saying out there on the internet, don't feed the trolls. And by disabling posts, that's basically feeding the trolls. Okay. This is fairly new. This rolled out earlier this year. The ability to set expiring posts. I don't know anybody that's actually used this option before. I think Facebook thought it was probably a good idea, like if you were going to have a flash sale, for example, and you didn't want to keep the post around, then you could set it to expire and basically go away. Other people can tag photos. All of these are ones that you can I would just say click on edit and review those. Country restrictions is important. You don't want to have this. You don't want to have age restrictions. Age restrictions, because if someone has not put their birth date in Facebook, for example, they might be of legal age. They might be 65. They might be 42. But if they've not put their birth date into Facebook, they cannot see your page at all. So this is important to remember. Now, this other one is remove page, so delete your page. Now, Facebook did roll out something last year that was extremely helpful. If you have multiple administrators on your business page, anyone with full administrative rights can delete your page. And it used to be that if once your page was deleted, it was gone forever. Now what happens is if you delete it, it goes into a holding pattern for 2 weeks, and you can undelete it. To bounce back to the reputation management issue, though, I wouldn't recommend removing the page for 2 weeks by deleting it and then making sure it came back, because you never know, maybe you'd forget and that extra day would go by and then it's gone forever. The downside of this is if you have another administrator on your Facebook page, they could potentially kick all the other administrators off the page first. Anybody that's an administrator has full administrative rights. So they could kick everybody else off and then delete your page, and 2 weeks later, your page is completely gone. So that is important. Now this messaging option, and if I'm going over things that you already know, my apologies, I will try to run through them quickly. The messaging option, as I mentioned, is fairly new. You can turn this off, and you also have the option of enabling instant replies, where it will kind of send them an automated message. This is not something I necessarily recommend, but it's something that you can poke around in and look into. Page information has moved, so it's now in the page info and overview. Facebook is still apparently tweaking this so that this option won't show up anymore in this. Post attribution is important because the default is posting as the business page, or you can post as yourself. I bring up notifications because notifications, if you're relying on this to get any important notifications, say someone messages you through Facebook, you are not necessarily going to get an email or a text message if these selections are on. You're only going to get a notification about 50% of the time. So if you have an active Facebook page, make sure that you're checking it daily or at least multiple times daily, because don't rely on these notifications. Twitter does the same thing. It says, well, we'll send you an email anytime someone replies to you or favors a tweet that you posted. Facebook is completely unreliable in terms of that. Now here are page roles, and if you're not really familiar with this, there are different things that we can put in here. Admin has full control. Editor has posting ability. They can alter some things. They do not have the ability to delete the page. A moderator pretty much only has the option of responding to this. Advertiser can only look at your Facebook ads and monitor, maintain, and create Facebook ads. And an analyst only has access to your insights, which we'll go through in a minute. I would recommend, if you hire an external agency to either help you with your insights and help you look at where your page is at, make sure that you only have them in as one of these two. There's been many instances where companies have hired other companies to not necessarily moderate and maintain and post to their page, but look at how they can boost engagement on there. And what's happened is maybe they have a parting of the ways with the other company, and the other company takes control of the page, and in some cases either deletes the page, as I mentioned earlier, or holds it hostage, which there's been a couple of instances recently where that's happened. When you do add, let me go back here for a second. When you do add a new administrator, or you delete someone, it is going to ask you for your password. That password is your own personal password for Facebook. It does nothing to do with the page. Okay, did anybody have any questions so far? Okay, I just remind you, if you do have questions, ask them to the right and I will try to get to them. Now, this is something, they've moved this around recently. So one of the questions I've had a lot recently is, how can I tell who's liked my page? And how do I get rid of them if I have a troll on the page, or, for example, someone is posting inappropriate content? So if you go into the settings and people and pages, and this is fairly new as well, when they first moved this option over here, it didn't give you the option of removing from page likes or banning from the page. Now it gives you this option of doing both here. Setting them to removing them from page likes does not actually ban them from commenting on the page. Facebook had an option a few years ago where when someone wanted to post something or reply to a comment on your Facebook page, they actually had to like the page first. They did away with that, so now anybody can comment or like something or share something, and that's really hurt page owners, because it's kind of anybody can just go on the page and say, hey, that's a great recipe or whatever, but then they're not following you, unfortunately. So again, even if you've removed them from the page likes, they can come back. If you have someone that's seriously causing trouble, then you should ban them from the page. These are applications that you can add. For example, there's some great external applications out there. This is actually my personal favorite, Woobox. Woobox has some free options and some paid options. It's very easy to integrate into your page itself. with separate applications in it. What it will do is it'll add separate tabs to the page, and I'll go into that in a couple of minutes. But they have a lot of options. You can run contests, you can integrate Pinterest, you can integrate YouTube, you can add people to your mailing list. If you are doing email broadcasts through Constant Contact, Vertical Response, MailChimp, most of the other email programs out there, most of those will give you an application app to add to your Facebook page so someone can sign up for your email list directly through your Facebook page, which is a great option to have. Instagram ads are something that are kind of just rolling out. They haven't been necessarily tested, so I don't have a lot of feedback for you as of yet. I do know Instagram for most business use right now, I really wouldn't recommend it. If Instagram sticks around, if they add more options, if the demographic changes to anybody but teenagers and millennials, and in terms of millennials, I'm talking about anybody under the age of 30, then it might be more of an option to actually spend money on for advertising. But I really wouldn't spend any money on Instagram ads or spend money on this option of bringing it into Facebook at this point. Now, featured likes is you have the ability to act as your page. And for those not familiar with it, there's this little tiny icon up here that's barely visible, and you can use Facebook as your business page. Now, once you use it as your Facebook page, you can go over and you can like other business pages. The downside of a business liking another business page is it doesn't add to their quantity of likes. For example, so I have some business pages that I'm moderator and administrator of that have maybe 500 personal likes, and they have almost as many business likes as personal likes, but unfortunately those business likes don't add up to say as a total this is 1,000 likes for this particular page. When you add featured likes, there's 5 boxes that will pull up, certain Facebook pages that you select, and those will appear down here when you're on the main page. Page owners is something left over from several changes ago. I'm not sure why they still have this. Originally, there would be another tab on your About section that would say featured page owner, and your snapshot or your icon from your own personal page and a link would show up to who you are. Even if you add a featured page owner now, it actually doesn't show up anywhere. Let's see, page support. If you have support requests, Facebook I'll be frank, they're a pain in the butt. If you have a question or an issue with them and you submit a help request through Facebook, don't just submit it twice. You really have to go in and submit it several dozen times for them to actually even respond to you. So if you have something that's not working on the page, if you have a question about something that's not working, an issue with something, you have to really pester them. I mean, I know that there's tons and tons of employees, but Facebook doesn't have a good support system, unfortunately, in place. And before I'm going to go back, to the General tab, for example, and I just wanted to make sure that I touch on something in here. If you'd hold on just a sec. Okay, the merging of duplicate pages. Facebook also has what's called orphan pages, which if someone searches for a business, you might come up with 2 listings. One will have a listing that will say your business name and there'll be a little map on it, but there's no information. It doesn't look like a standard Facebook page. Those can be claimed and merged with your actual business page because people can actually like those things. There are businesses out there that have never actually created a Facebook business page, but they do have those pages out there also called places pages. Okay. Now, this is something that they also just changed recently, unfortunately, is up until very, very recently, if you had a review on your page, you couldn't delete the review. It depended on the reviewer setting whether you could respond to it or not, but you used to have the ability to hide your whole review tab. And this used to be found in here. They've actually just changed this extremely recently. And if you uncheck this, it would have hid both your map and the reviews. Now it will only hide your map and check-ins on the page, which is very, very unfortunate. So basically, if your page is getting hit with bad reviews for whatever reason, the only way you're going to be able to hide all those reviews is to unpublish your page. Now, this is an example, for example, of a WooBox integrated tab. This is bringing in their YouTube channel. And YouTube, for example, is really nice for this because it will let you set a featured video. And it's not necessarily going to be, in YouTube itself, you can set featured videos that are actually bigger than the other ones. In this WooBox, and no one else but you will see this admin tab option, but you'll be able to set whichever video that you want as the primary. Okay. Now let's see. Call to action is something fairly new. If you haven't set it before, it will ask you set up a call to action button. So if you go to, so let's see, edit call to action right here. So it'll give you these options, and they keep actually adding some more options. Watch video is a fairly new option. Shop now is a fairly new option. Send message is a brand new option that just rolled out last week, literally, and they didn't tell anybody about it. And then they can set a link to wherever you want people to go, for example. So if you have a local event, for example, that's being set up, you can set it specifically to that, and then just make sure that you hit Save Changes. Let me close some of these up. Okay. Now, the most important thing in here are your insights. What you really should be doing is, if you're using Facebook for business and you're using it to promote your business, you really need to pay attention to your insights. It does give the example of exporting it into Excel and into CSV, which is comma separated values. But if you're not paying attention to this, then you're not fully leveraging Facebook to its full potential. Now, Facebook has algorithms, just like Google has algorithms, and they're tweaking the algorithms all the time. So things that worked well to help promote your posts to the public don't necessarily work as well anymore. Generally, I found about every 2 months, Facebook gives a major tweak to what they're doing. So you may have noticed, if you have a Facebook page that has lots and lots of likes already, for example, say you have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. In the beginning, when you started your page, you got a lot of engagement, you got a lot of people responding and liking your posts. Facebook's algorithms has really made it difficult, especially for small businesses, to get organic feedback on your page. So now, for example, if you have 1,000 likes, for example, less than 3% of the people that even like your page will actually see your post. So it's actually going to be hidden from their feeds. And Facebook has really done this as a money-making device because they want you to promote posts. And let me go back here, for example, to the page, and you'll see this option in here that says promoted posts. So I'm just going to put in gibberish, and you're going to see boost post. Now, I really wouldn't recommend using this unless you had something that you're going to get a bang for your buck. For example, you had a big event that you wanted to advertise that was going to be paid, or you really wanted to hit the media with it, or you had something really special going on, like a sale or whatever, because then you will get your money back on it. The interesting thing about boosting posts is it'll give you a bunch of different options for this. And this particular page, for example, already has 3,000, actually almost 5,000 likes, 4,700 likes, for example. Now, if I wanted to spend $10 estimated reach, so basically I'm spending $10 for all of my 4,700 people that have already liked this page just to reach the people that have already liked this page, which is kind of crazy. And it does give you this option, who like your page and their friends, and people you choose through targeting. Now, what I would recommend, if you are going to boost this post, have this option checked. People who like your page and their friends. Don't just do the people you like your page, and don't do the targeting, because when you put an edit audience in, it's baloney. I'll be frank with you on Facebook, because if you set a promoted post, and this also goes for Facebook ads, I have, as you might have been able to tell already, kind of a love-hate relationship with Facebook. Their targeting stinks. So, for example, if I was going to set, an audience in of United States bed and breakfast boutique hotels, 25 to 64 female, and I added some more parameters to this. They're college educated, they like dogs, just as an example. When you finally run this boosted post, and when you run a Facebook ad, for example, the actual return results are you're going to get, they're not living in the United States, they're living in Indonesia, just as an example. They're not interested in bed and breakfast, they're interested in rug weaving. The age group is 15 to 30. They're not female. They like cats. Just as an example of, their targeting is not targeting. So don't pick this option, because it's not going to give you the results that you want. People that like your page, especially if you're a local business and that's your target market and target clientele, their page, and especially their friends who might potentially be local people, is the better demographic to hit with that one. Now, just be careful with this option, because you can spend an awful lot of money on boosted posts. You can spend an awful lot of money on Facebook ads. You really need to make sure that you're benchmarking. If you're spending money on this, what are you getting out of it? When you start, if you promote something like an event, for example, make sure that you ask people, if they're buying tickets, where did you hear about this? Because you really need to make sure, if you're spending money, especially on Facebook, that you're getting the results that you need out of it. All right. Now, insights, again, as I had mentioned earlier, this is important because you want to see what happened. This particular page, and this is a good example of an event, or I will call it a life event. The CEO of the company that they work with, they left, or they got asked to leave. And as you can see, back last year, there was a significant number in decrease of page likes for this page. The company, as you can see, is recovering quite well from this. There's a little bit of a dip here. There was another event that happened at this particular time period. But this is important to go through and really look at this and find out, when this happened, what events happened, if you were publicizing something, if you were in the news, what happened and why. Okay. And these insights, again, are very, very important to go through. And this is probably the most useful thing that you can go through, is see all posts. And this is important, especially if you're going to start taking advantage of the pre-scheduling, because you want to see when you're getting the best bang for your buck. And this time period graph is very important, because you can see how many people that are potentially viewing your page are going to be online, and when you've gotten the best reactions from posts themselves. So what I would recommend is every couple of weeks or once a month, go into your posts and start analyzing what's the reach that you have, what's the engagement, what day it was. So, Thursdays, for example, maybe you might be getting more engagement on Thursdays at, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, for example. Go back and start analyzing this information, because it will start giving you a better idea of when to publish, because there is no perfect algorithm, and there's no perfect magic formula to say, you know, every page post gets your best engagement at Monday from 9 in the morning till 12 in the afternoon, because it really depends on the individual business. You know, restaurants fairly consistently get their best engagement mid to late afternoon, because people are thinking about going to dinner, so they might visit the business's Facebook page to see if any specials or coupons are posted, just as an example of that. They have hardly any traffic on a Sunday, so posting a promotion on a Sunday is not going to give them enough bang for their buck, but posting it on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday afternoon is going to, just to throw that out there as an example. And before I forget, over to the right-hand side, you should see a tab that says Handouts, and there's 4 handouts in here, and there's 2 suggested social media calendars. These are all editable. I would really recommend, you know, you don't have to use one of those, but these are just to give you a general idea of how to set up a social media calendar. Start benchmarking this. If you're using Facebook, if you're using any other social media medium, set up a social media calendar and track it. So at the beginning of, you know, November, for example, put in your page likes. Put in how many page likes you get at the end of 1 week. You know, how much engagement are you getting? Are you getting good commentary on things? And use this not just in Facebook, but across all of your other social media, because Facebook is great for some businesses, but it's not necessarily fantastic for everyone. And if you're not getting what you want out of it, you may not necessarily be using it the right way, but it may not be the platform and the medium that you need to use. If your target is millennials, for example, Facebook may not be that great for you, but Instagram might be terrific. If your target demographic is primarily, you know, well-educated, women with fairly good incomes, you know, explore Pinterest. Each of the different platforms has target markets. LinkedIn, for example, can be terrific for some businesses that shouldn't have a place at all on Facebook, like financial advisors. Why would a financial advisor have a Facebook page, and would they get anything out of it? So really analyze, you know, what you're doing and ask yourself the question, you know, use it for an amount of time. I would say, though, any social media platform, not just Facebook, if you're not actively using it and trying to, you know, promote it and trying to put the word out there about that, you know, don't post sporadically and say, oh yeah, I have a Facebook page or I have a Twitter account and it didn't do anything for me, because you're not actually working the program. There's no excuse for that. Okay. So the other thing that's really handy in terms of posting online, and this is a really common question that I get, is what should I post? How often should I post? What kind of theme should I post? And where should I be getting the post content from? Now, the interesting thing about post content is there's some pros and cons to this, and it does influence Facebook's algorithm. Now, one of the things, if you're just posting content all about yourself, all about your business, quite frankly, it's really not that interesting unless you have an absolutely fascinating business with fascinating things going on all the time. And everybody would like to think that, but the reality of it is there really isn't that much content out there, so that even if you had a fascinating business with fascinating content, you'd run out of things to post awfully quickly. Now, in terms of ratios, how often should you post about your business versus posting about other things? So what I would recommend is 1 post that I will call a personal post about the business to 4 to 5 other posts about that. Now, how often should you post? Realistically, if you don't have that many likers, post more frequently. If you do have a lot of likes on the page, 1 to 2 times per day is fantastic. That might be a little hard to manage for most people. So try to find, and again, go back and look at your insights and try to find your best post times and start pre-scheduling those time periods in, because you might find Thursdays at 2 o'clock in the afternoon is prime time for posting, but realistically, you're not going to be able to get online exactly on Thursday at that particular time period. So start thinking about using that pre-scheduling option in to make sure that you get it at that prime time for yourself. Now, this is one of the most helpful things about Facebook is Facebook has interest lists, and you can only use them as yourself. So if you're logged in as your page, for example, we'll go back to, if it'll let me, if I go back to use Forfang Design or use this as my page, it won't let me have an interest list, and it won't let me access interest lists. You have to create interest lists under your own account. And these are all interest lists that I've made, for example, both for clients and for personal use. And what an interest list does is it aggregates content. And I'll give you a couple of different examples. For example, ESBA is the Empire State Bed and Breakfast Association. And part of the aim for publishing content on their page is to help promote their members. So what we did was we made an interest list that had, they have 37 members that have Facebook pages. They have more like 55 members, but not all of the members actually have Facebook pages. So we made a list of all of their pages, and now what I can do when we want to share content onto the Empire State Bed and Breakfast Association page, it's aggregating all of their content that they've posted for the last 2 weeks in one place for me. Now, this is very handy because you can have multiple interest lists. So say you're a historic business, for example, or you want to promote local food, for example. You can make specific lists geared toward those particular things, and then all of your content is aggregated together in one particular place. Now, the interesting thing in terms of where that goes with Facebook's algorithm is if you share a post from another page onto your own business page that has a lot of likes, that has a lot of comments, a lot of engagement, and I'll take George Takei for a perfect example of this. He has an extremely engaged Facebook page. If you share his post onto your own business page, the way Facebook algorithms work is it will actually give your post that you've shared more weight on your own business page, and by default you will actually get more engagement. This is not something that I would do all the time. It's kind of gaming the system. But if you shared a local news article, for example, from WMUR that has lots and lots of page likes and engagement, again, by default, that post will give your own post more weight, so to speak, on it. Okay. Now, this is something, and this is tied into Facebook Local. When you've liked a page for the first time, it's going to pop up, so I just like this morning, this is going to pop up more pages that you like. And depending on what kind of business that you are, some of these pages may be your competition. Now these are changed, these actually can change depending on what your own business listing is set up as. So I'm going to go back into, if you just give me a second, settings, and then sorry about that. Into your About section, and then page info. What pages that show up and those associated pages down here are dependent on your category that you've put in and your subcategory. The only way to really test this is to have someone that's not connected to your page, is not an administrator, for example, is not yet liked this page. Have someone else like the page and see what other suggestions are popping up. Because if your local competition is popping up, then you do need to go in and you need to change page category to say, for example, local business, because then it will change the options and it will bring in all local businesses and not specific ones. So that's just something to keep in mind. And let me go back in here. Let's see, one of the other things that you can do in terms of posting, which is extremely helpful, is you have the ability to pin posts as well. So if you hover over a recent post or a post that's been down a little bit, you'll come up with this and you'll see pin to top. And what this does is it pins your post to the top of the page for a week, and then it will drop. And as you can see, this little icon right here will show up as a pinned post. For people that have already liked your page, this will do nothing. But if you have, this is purely from the perspective of someone coming to your page for the very first time and you want them to see something important. So if you have a sale going on, you have a special event going on, you have something that you want to feature. I would caution people, you can repin a post as many times as you want. I don't recommend doing this. I recommend putting in a new post, and if you want to pin that post, do that. And why do I recommend doing that? Because if you're on someone's business page, you have to be cognizant of the fact that a pinned post, if I'm coming to this from someone that's not logged in and not an administrator, the only post that's going to show up is the pinned one. I've come across pages that are very, very active, and they have newer posts that show up underneath this top post, but the top post has been repinned so many times, it was from like 3 months ago. So from the perspective of someone coming to your page for the first time, they're going to see this, and they're going to see, July 2015, and they're going to go, this page is not active at all. Why should I be interested in this page? They're not posting updated content. So just be cognizant of that fact. Okay. One of the new things that has rolled out for page posts, you have the ability to post animated GIFs on pages. Before, you could only do that on personal accounts. Let's see. Well, one of the other things that's fairly new too is you used to be able to change your business name. And this is the business name here, and this is your business name up top. Now that's important because if you haven't set up a business page before, you're going to end up with this string, this name that you're going to put in and a string of numbers. It won't generally let you change that to have a personalized business name until you have at least 25 likes. You used to be able to change this and to change this as many times as you wanted to. Now you can only change it once, and you actually have to send a request in for Facebook to approve the business name change. So just be cognizant of that. If you've set your page up already and you need to change something, make sure that whatever you want to change it to is going to be permanent, because they probably won't let you change it again. Okay. Let's see, one of the other things about here is inviting friends, for example. Now, why would you want to invite friends to like your business page? Because they may not necessarily be clients, customers, people that are going to come visit your business. But when someone likes your page, for example, what's going to happen is not only will they like it, so it will boost your like count, but it will also appear on the right-hand side of their feed for anyone else that they're connected with. So by default, you're branding the business by getting them to like your page. Now, if you're looking for specific demographics, it'll also let you go down, and if you're members of groups, for example, but it'll also let you do by location. So if you have a lot of friends in Simsbury, for example, or New London, New Hampshire, then it will give you some specific people. You do unfortunately have to invite people individually. This is not necessarily a bad thing. Facebook originally had invite all friends to like something, and it broadcasts out to anybody that you were connected with. So you may not necessarily want to invite someone that you're connected with, that's your grandmother, for example, because why would she like the page other than to enhance your like count? But some people do go through this and they just go invite, and go, oh no, I shouldn't have invited them. There's no way to undo that, unfortunately. Okay. One of the newer options as well that's just rolled out is Facebook's beacons. And beacons are involved with Bluetooth technology, so that the whole idea being you can put a special offer into your page. And let me see if I have anybody. If you hold on just a second, I'll see if anybody has actually activated their beacon, just to give you an idea of what the special is. Because I know several people that I have on the list that I'm the administrator of have actually received beacons. It's not something that's been rolled out to everybody as of yet. It'll give you a notification when you've logged on to your page that you have the option of having a beacon sent to you. From what I'm understanding, it's taking 2 to 3 weeks to actually get your beacon. And then what happens is when you've got your beacon activated, it will send out a special offer to someone that is in relation to your business. So you could say, put an event in. This is going to show up to, you know, when they go by your business, they're going to get a mobile phone notification that this is happening in this area. The beacon technology is still quite new, and there is an application, and unfortunately it's not in this one. Let me see if I have where it will show up. And as you can see, I have some friends with bees. I have bees as well. Let's see. Here we go. There's should be a little tab that's going to show up in your About section. And Facebook is going to kill me because it looks like they've moved it. There was a tab in here that said mobile, where you could set in specifically what the beacon would spit out to someone that was going by your business. Okay, and that's kind of some of the new things. I really expect some new things to be rolling out. Usually when Facebook starts making some major changes, like the profile banners, when they start putting in things like verification of pages, they generally roll out a lot of things all at once. And I bring attention to this just to be cognizant of the fact that if you're trying to post on your page and it won't let you, if you're experiencing issues with the page and it won't let you do something or change something, it's because Facebook is in the middle of making changes, and it's not just you log out, have a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, depending on what time it is, come back at another time and try it again. When Facebook glitches, it's typically when they roll out something new to everybody. So you'll consistently have issues with the pages for sometimes up to a couple of weeks. Okay. Now, did you guys have any questions? Because I kind of went through a lot of things fairly quickly. So if there's any questions specifically that you had, please ask them now. Okay, and you can ask them to the right. And I would ask you, don't forget that there are the handouts that you can download. If you don't remember to do the handouts or you don't get a chance to, please email me and I will be happy to email them to you. Okay, and I'm going to unmute everybody. I know a couple of people can hear me but don't have access to the microphone. So everybody is unmuted. So if anyone has any questions, please ask. Janice, did you say something? Hello, hello. Okay. Oh, publishing tools. Okay. So I think it's probably going to be easier at this point because I am getting some feedback on the line. So I'm going to mute everybody again. So again, if people do have questions, please ask them to the right-hand side. And actually, just a quick note about videos. If you upload a video to your Facebook business page, the way Facebook algorithms do work is they will give you more leverage to your posts and more weight to your posts. Just be cognizant of the fact that Facebook, just like any photos that you add, Facebook reserves the right in the fine print to use those somewhere else. And people can clip those videos out and repurpose them for other needs. You're much better off if you have videos that you own, uploading them to Facebook and then putting the link directly into your Facebook post tab and integrating a tab into Facebook itself. This does give you some additional things in post, publish posts. Drafts is a new option where you can start to write something and go back to it, for example. You can also do scheduled posts like way in advance, just to have them in there in your queue and then move them up to a sooner post to schedule and post an expired post. But again, if you have a Facebook page or you've started one or you haven't started one, go in here and roam around. I just have to stress you can't break this. Other than deleting the page, there's nothing that you can do in here that is not undoable. But they do change things very often, and things will move, things will migrate around. Oh, okay, there was a question. What this is Buffer. Most people are not going to see this automatically unless they have Buffer available on their account. In terms of pre-scheduling, I use Buffer primarily for scheduling things to go into my other social media accounts, but you can also schedule Buffer to go into your Facebook business page. It's Buffer app. There's two versions. There's also Hootsuite that's great for pre-scheduling. I prefer Buffer. It's got a much cleaner interface. Let me actually go over here for a second and just run through this while we're in here. And what Buffer does is, say you come across a article about your business or an article that's very helpful to perhaps your readers, and you want to pre-schedule it. Buffer has a little icon. I'm not sure if you can see it up here. Right here, it's this little stack where, say I came across, let's go to here. I came across this really interesting post, for example, and I wanted to send it into my social media queue. So what I would do is I would go over here and hit this icon like this. And what it will do is it will automatically feed it into my queue. Now for this particular account, I have a free account. There's the free and the paid, as I mentioned. And the free account lets you pre-schedule up to 10 posts and use up to 3 social media accounts. And it's usually a little bit quicker than us. The paid account lets you add a lot more options to this, but you can add things like Facebook, you can add Twitter, you can upload an image, you can add it to LinkedIn, to Google+, for example, and all I'd have to do is say I wanted to add a comment here, this is really interesting, and you can also edit this link as well. Just be careful not to edit this link because it's a direct link to the article, and then you would hit add to queue. And I don't want to add this to queue because to me it's not that interesting. But right here you have contributions. This is the back end of Buffer, and I personally love Buffer app. It gives you analytics, it gives you the schedule, and so here's my schedule, for example, of when I post things during the week. Because if you're looking for content to post, you really want to think of good posting time. I have a fairly large following on Twitter, for example, and most of my posts go into Twitter, and these are my optimal posting times for posting during the week. So I've gone through and I've analyzed my analytics from all of the different platforms that I use, and then I've put them into every half an hour instead of going, oh, this is interesting, I'm going to post it right away and post it right away and post it right away. Okay. And I think that pretty much wraps up everything that we have. Again, you do have my email address. It did come in your confirmation. So if you have questions after the fact that you didn't think of, please let me know. I don't charge for questions. I can email you your handouts. If you have anything that you run into that you're not sure about, please let me know. You know, I actually would mention one more thing. If you have a comment on something, let me find a page that's going to comment on it. Okay, here, for example, if you have someone that makes a comment that's perhaps, you know, maybe not nasty, but not something that you necessarily want to have on your page, or you have a troll, you can hide this. So you hover over this and you go hide. Now, this is only visible to them. So you could actually delete it, but I wouldn't recommend it, because if you delete someone's post, say someone actually really had a customer service issue and they're trying to pass that along to you, but you don't necessarily want it public, I would recommend hiding it. Don't delete it, because if you delete their post, they're going to get more aggressive and they'll post again on other platforms. So hide it and unhide it. You can also report and ban them. In this particular case, I don't want to do that, but that is an option for that. Okay, so thank you everybody for attending. I really appreciate it. And again, please let me know if you have questions. Don't forget to download the handouts, and have a wonderful week, everybody. Thank you.